And welcome to episode number 8 of Stripe Dialogues. Namaste, good morning, good evening, Sastrikal, Pranam to everyone. At the outset, we would like to express our heartfelt condolences for the people who have lost their lives in the train accident at Balasore. Over 261 people have lost their life, and around 600 or even more are injured. We pray for giving strength to their families to bear this loss, and we request everyone not to become political on this major issue. With that, we will straight away launch into our discussion today. Today, we have selected for ourselves water as the discussion point, and that too related to China, one of our adversaries. And to discuss all this with us, we have amongst us one of the best known water experts in our country, General A.K. Chaturvedi, who has written a number of books on this issue. He is also our senior vice chairman of our think tank, Strive India. Welcome, sir, to this discussion, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to having a very fruitful discussion with you. But before I yield the floor to you, because I don't think I'm in a position to exactly narrate the water wars of China better than you. So, but I will put certain figures in the perspective so that our audience are able to understand why we are talking about this issue and why you are covering this issue with everyone. So for that, sir, let me just take the help of this particular view file. Onto the left corner, you see a map with red lines going from south to the north. What it clearly indicates, these are the projects which are being launched by China, of which I think the eastern one is already completed, the western one is yet to start, and the central line, it is on the drawing boards. This is basically to transfer the water from the south, the water rich area of the south, to the water deficient or water scarce area of the north, essentially to uh, get them fresh drinking water, plus for their cultivation, because and the industry, because most of the industrial hubs is in the north. So, and also the agricultural area is in the north, which is arid, and there uh, it is actually a situation of water scarcity comparable to Africa and other places, Africa and the deserts in the Middle East. Then we have the onto the right corner dam shown along the Mekong. This is basically some. Uh, I think there is some problem with my. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so these also have to be put into perspective when we discuss about water wars. And the third figure is about the Brahmaputra basin and the series of dams which are shown on the northern side on the Sangpo River, which is the main tributary of China. What is it doing by building these dams? What are its intentions? Does it have any ulterior motives? Will it lead to water war with India? Myth or a reality? We will seek your views on this also. And finally, some figures for everyone to know. China is ranked fourth in the world in the number of natural disaster. Actually, in 2019, they were the first in the world, followed by US. India is no better. We are third in that situation. 90% of the groundwater is contaminated today in China. India, it's around 70%. So we are also following closely behind. Somewhere the population factor kicks in. Then we have it causes, these disasters cause almost 100,000 deaths and 1.5 trillion economic losses to China. India too suffers, but not at the scale at which China is suffering. 80% water in the south, industrial hub in the north, I've already spoken about. Availability of water in the north, 184 cubic meter per person, which is actually water scarcity figures से बहुत ही नीचे है. 500 cubic meter per person is the global standard for water scarcity. जहाँ भुखमरी है, प्यास है, उसका इतना पानी होता है. तो यू कैन इमेजिन 184 में क्या हो रहा होगा वहाँ पे. Glaciers in Qinghai Tibetan Plateau have retreated to 82%. Yellow River is dead almost, and Yangtze possibly on its way to becoming dead. सर ये कैसे हो गया? How has China reached this mess? Could you throw or reached this condition? Could you throw some light on this particular issue, the current state of China's water woes? The floor is yours, sir. The screen is yours.
Uh, Thank you, Dushyant, for inviting me for this very, uh, very valid discussion, and it has got a lot of implication for India also. But before I proceed, I also pay my heartfelt condolences to the families of those who perished in the train accident. And I think every calamity should show us a way that what we should be doing. So therefore, it's not only the natural calamities. As we keep going on the path of more and more, say, leveraging of technology, even man-made disasters are going to increase substantially. So we need to take care of this. Now coming to the subject proper. See, China has got about say, 20% population of the world, and they have got just 6% of water resources. So that is one part. Second part is that they have got a geographical imbalance. As you said very rightly, the north has got a tremendous amount of water shortage, and their agriculture as well as industrial hub is north. South, I mean, it's a tricky situation. It's something like good old days in India. It used to happen that Bihar used to face floods, and Madhya Pradesh used to just next door used to have drought. Say Sarguja versus Palamu, that kind of a thing. So therefore, that is something which is very very strong and needs to be. Third thing is that what is happening in China, and one of the reason is that very rapid industrialization and a very rapid urbanization. These two.
Okay.
So let me just tackle each of them separately. Industrialization results into unless there's a huge demand on water increases substantially, and that water, once you are already short of water, you will have to create resources to generate water or find some technology to be used for water which has contaminated or which is polluted to be put back to service. So that will need a very high amount of energy. So that's a second related. Energy will again cause more environmental issues, and water will further go down. So that's a second part. Now, urbanization today, the almost 50% of China is urban, and the moment the requirement of water in urban areas increase quite substantially, and it is feared that by 2050 this figure will reach 80%. Now, how is it going to impact the availability of water? You know, water is required for various things, starting from drinking to ablution to industry to all kind of things. So building construction. So this water requirement will keep on increasing. Now, on one side, water requirement is increasing. Is water availability increasing? No, it is decreasing. Now, why it is decreasing? One of the main reason is twofold. One is climate conditions. The climate change is reducing the availability of water. You gave the example of Hange, which is Chile has become polluted, highly polluted. And Yangtze this year, it has become half, and it is feared. IPCS says that it in another by 2050, both these rivers are going to become seasonal rivers. So that
Another
means the water.
another point which I would like to add here, sir, just for building on your issue about the water shortage. See, I also mentioned about the glacier. They have shifted. They have melted by about 90%, sir. Now, I mean that is a figure which almost is. I believe they say by 2030 they'll not be there. Now that will
Yes,
become a even huge problem in terms of climate, and also, sir, chip industry and the coal. I believe coal
I'm,
requires
I'm,
eight.
I'm coming to that. When we
Hmm,
talk of industry, this chip industry needs very huge amount of water. One microchip, 1 nanometer microchip will need as much as 45,000 liters of water. So with this
right.
kind of a water requirement, the kind of water, fresh water you need. They also have got shale gas. Just to fracking of shale gas, 500,000 of water is required for shale gas. So the water requirement, then they are going for and massive for energy, that the nuclear power plants, and nuclear 21 of them they are building. Now for that, the cooling, you need again water. So with all this thing, the water requirement on one side is increasing, water availability is reducing. You know, one of the major source, what you said about glacier. Now glacier overall they are reducing for the simple reason because of the climate change. Now,
Absolutely.
it is, by 2030 more. So today the about, you can say the figure, if I quote, uh, about say 46,000 glaciers are there in Tibet. Now out of that, it has become already reduced to about 34,000 effective glaciers, and this
Okay.
way the water availability will keep reducing. And water availability, when it reduces, now more and more dependence on groundwater. Now when you
Yeah.
groundwater is actually, if you go certain below certain level, I mean it is feared that it is as high as 20 meters per year. It is going down the water table in some of the areas in north. Now below certain, about say 60 meters or something, the soil chemistry is such that heavy metals like arsenic becomes more. So therefore the contaminated of available groundwater. So it's a very very catch 22 situation in which they are caught. Now this mess,
I believe,
they
sir.
have,
I believe, sir. Even the sea water starts seeping in, and the water becomes salty, and you can't really consume it.
yes, you know, the more you draw out from surface water, the 80% dependence of China is on surface water. Now surface water, if you take out too much of surface water, the sea will, from estuary, it will start seeping into it, and then
Correct.
the all arable land will keep on
Yeah.
become, the area will keep on become saline, and the soil will becoming unproductive. So China is having, and the offshoot of this thing is food security. The
Yeah,
China will have a major food
that's
security.
and I believe
Now,
last year they imported wheat.
yes. Oh, Jimmy Jimmy is that song which became very famous in China because of it, because there is not enough to eat. Now,
Correct.
you mentioned about north south. The
Yeah.
1400
Yeah.
kilometers of they have made, and Beijing's two-third water is being supplied. Tianjin and Beijing is from that thing. They are also this Medoc, which you mentioned about, that 30 kilometers from the border, which they are making, the five dams they are making in their 14
Oh,
plan,
yeah.
five dams. So one is they are drawing water from here and taking it. So what will happen in Pasighat 2 years back? The water had become absolutely black. So
Oh,
water is available in India will reduce, and that is why his one of the major intention is on Arunachal is that he wants to steal water of Subansiri and Lohit.
yeah.
That's a,
The other two
yeah. Other,
territories.
yes. Similarly, he's not stopping here. He had made a dam in at Ali in Angari, that prefecture, and from there he is taking water. He wants to this, even in the North Arc, which Gilgit Baltistan, he has created five water, that Bhasa Demar onwards. He is
Mhm.
making five dams, and water, that power generation all he is taking.
He's taking
Pakistan
back.
suffered that environmental fate this time because of this environmental degradation. So
Correct.
that's the second part of it. Now, with all this thing, the climate change is one of the major issue. Pollution is another major issue. You will be surprised to know that there are about say uh, 600 settlements in China today where they don't have potable water. And there are 33 million environmental refugees there in China because of all these things. So therefore, water woes are and they are compounding. They are not multiplying. They are compounding because of that one thing leads to another. So that is another very major issue. So some of these areas I've covered because of the paucity of time. We can have a long discussion on these kind of each one of
Sir,
them has got a kind of a thing.
so a short question linked to this is that what is the impact? So China believes in making things big, very big, and China has been consistently making big dams. Either it is Yangtze or any other river or in the Mekong Delta. What is going to be the impact of this particular major issue? Could you just highlight in 2 3 minutes, sir?
Oh yes. Let me just start from one end. Now, Indus water, because if you recall in my last interjection, I had mentioned that food security. So he
Yeah.
has found that new areas, Xinjiang, he wants to, because that is parched. So he wants to take Indus water and by some estimates, even Brahmaputra water through a tunnel from there to Xinjiang. So that is one area. He wants to steal that water. Second is Satluj, this Zada prefecture. He has created another barrage, and from there he is taking water back to China. Third is Magbo Zangbo. It's a tributary of Karnali, which is in the name of Ghagra, is a major
Yeah.
tributary to Ganges. So
Okay.
he has made a major dam on that. Brahmaputra, as
Yes.
I mentioned, 5 dams. So now implication of this will be Brahmaputra especially because 5 dams on Brahmaputra means not only India but almost 800 million people. So even Bangladesh totally will be impacted. So with this kind of a thing, the river erosion, the bank erosion will start taking place. So more silting means more flood problem. So natural disaster will increase. Now you coming down to say Mekong. Mekong, all these starting with Myanmar to Thailand to Laos to Cambodia, Vietnam, they are all impacted. They have
Yes.
already made about 11 dams and they are planning to make by some figure, they are saying 60 and some figure says 300 dams on this river. Now, what is available? Mekong upper stream water is available, downstream it is not available. So it is a question of survival of South Asia. So therefore, this
So
is
you mean to say, sir, the problems will be faced by the country's lower riparians, and
yeah.
this guy is going to enjoy the fruits of these big dams in Mekong,
And
especially.
in this two things is very relevant. There's a UN convention on utilization of transnational these water channels of
Yeah.
1997. So section 5 of part 2 is very relevant that rights of lower riparians cannot be usurped by the upper riparians.
Very
But
upper
China is
riparian.
not a signatory. China is not a signatory. Second is Millennium Development Goal. It is the sixth Millennium Development Goal where water has been considered as a human right. But China
Yes.
doesn't care. I mean, they can do anything with the water. And and third thing is he will use these water can be used as a water weapon. Imagine Parichu what happened in 2004-5 when the water was Satluj Vyas board that you mentioned about earlier. It was totally destroyed, and Indian that the system of power generation in Vyas Valley and Satluj Valley went on by almost a decade. So he used it. Now the same thing he can use in Karnali, so Nepal would be impacted. Same thing he can use in Brahmaputra at Medog, 60,000 gigawatt of power generation. Now when that water comes into the entire Assam, Arunachal, Bangladesh would be deluged. So
We will have our own set of problems caused by these issues. Besides the Mekong, I think we also need to be careful about it. So that
very
leads me to the
difficult.
next question, sir. Could you explain now in a little greater detail? Will the Brahmaputra Basin water war, lead to a kind of either a water war or a war over over the claims of the territory in these areas between India and China, because to me it looks like a kind of a greyhorn rhino kind of a thing, which is a predictable situation, but when it will take place, we are not sure. So essentially, do you think it is going to be a greyhorn rhino operation,
Yeah,
grey
absolutely.
rhino operation? What is it?
You look at like this today in this entire say matrix of all those rivers which are emanating from Tibet. Brahmaputra is the only river which has got surplus water.
Okay.
Other rivers either are polluted or they have been, say, harnessed so much that very little water is left in them. Karnali has got water, but Karnali, you can't compare it with Brahmaputra. Now, so that is why what he has got twofold aim. One is he wants to make up the deficiency of his major river systems, that Hange and Yangtze, with
Yangtze.
these water. Secondly, when these things come up, say Medoc, let's just take Medoc for an example.
Okay.
Now Medoc, that he will have to create road network. He has एक Xiabu river है उसको तो उसने dry कर दिया. So
Hmm.
that area will be developed. The area will be developed. That population pressure will start coming towards LAC, say McMahon line, which is there.
And not to
Between India
forget the Siokong, sir, which you discussed the other day.
Yes, yes. So with all this thing, with the he'll keep coming closer to border, and I mean, I'm telling a master G of CDM that development is defense. So more developed area in border areas, more population placement of people, and trying to do what few years back another country did to India when a lot of
Yes.
demographic invasion start taking place, and then the complete Arunachal will be impacted. Assam would be impacted, and so Brahmaputra, one has to be very very careful, and the word needs to be told that you can't do this. You have to, one has to come very very firmly on this kind of a thing. Though he steals the data, he is not, by the way, post this Dolam Plateau issue, he has stopped sharing river data of Brahmaputra with India. Earlier he was sharing, he is giving some Bangladesh some information, but he has stopped sharing river data with us.
Sir, interestingly, he's taking $125,000 from India to share the Brahmaputra data, and the same data
But
he's
now
giving
not
To
yet.
Bangladesh free of cost. I
Ah,
think we should go to Bangladesh and then get this data by pay him $125,000 per year.
my my recommendation, Vishant, is a little different. We need to not only do what you are saying, but further to that, Bangladesh needs to be sensitized, Nepal needs to be sensitized, Bhutan
Yeah,
needs
not
to be
to,
sensitized
yes,
that
absolutely.
we are lower riparian and or middle riparian. In China's case, we are middle riparian in case of Bangladesh, and otherwise, China, something we are, yeah, in most cases we are lower riparian. Now we must see to it that China does not steal water. We have to create that pressure group on China, and they
Sir,
need to be, yeah.
so with that, since we have, I mean, by and large, covered the issue about Brahmaputra and the fact that there is a scope for a war between India and China, even if it is at a scale not envisaged as a full-fledged war, but definitely there is a friction point which needs to be taken care of by India. I'll lead on to the third and the most important issue of today's discussion, which is in relation to one of our neighboring countries, and I think we have made some very positive move as when it comes to India Nepal agreement in the recently concluded Nepal Prime Minister Dahal's visit to our place in India, and the agreements which have been signed, especially over the hydroelectric power projects. Could you throw some light on that? And then I think we will take questions after that from the audience.
It's a terrific breakthrough, I would say. You know, Nepal has got a potential of almost 45,000 megawatts of hydropower.
So
And so far, India was getting initially just 45 megawatt, which has increased to about 450 megawatts. But in this spec, there is an
absolutely.
organization which was created few years back, that is BBIN, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal Power Sharing Arrangement. So if power has to go from Nepal to Bangladesh, it will be over the grid lines of India. Similarly, from Bhutan, if it is to go to Bangladesh, which has a power shortage, power scarce country. Now, with that kind of a thing, when it goes, so India will be using India's grid would be used. Now, the advantage to all three countries. Let me just first put this, and then I'll come to what India has got. You know,
Okay, sir.
this hydro is a resource. So Nepal will get revenue generated like
Mhm.
Bangladesh. Bhutan is giving about the 10,000 megawatt of power to India, and they have already become middle income group country by giving only to India. Now, with
Absolutely.
this power going to uh, into the grid, we will get tariff for our grid being used. So certain advantage to India. Now Bangladesh, which is short of power, will get power. Interconnectivity between the three countries, because of the mutual interdependence, will improve a better connectivity between them. Nepal will be weaned away from China,
That is that is the most important thing, sir.
and this the biggest. Now I'll come to, and I'm dramatizing.
No,
Nepal
no,
in
it,
this
it is worth
development,
dramatizing.
10,000 megawatt,
Huge.
10,000 megawatt India is going to get. So now from 450, suddenly it becomes 10,500 megawatt, which is a major development. So you imagine
Absolutely.
the revenue generated which accrue to Nepal. What will happen to their economy? They'll say
So, so
to China,
in the words of Prime Minister Modi, super hit is what he had
it
said.
is going to be, no, hit. He said initially highway,
Infraways, infraways,
internet, intranet,
infraways,
infraways,
infraways, and
uh,
transways.
transways. So all these three things is super. It is reaching the super level.
It is
So with
gone to
this
super
kind
hit now.
of, so one of the thing is right from beginning we had been saying that we had been trying to make big inroads into world affair geopolitics, whereas our own neighborhood was not with us. Now with this kind of a thing, we have been. You look at the local geopolitics because of crisis in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is gradually coming out of the net of China.
Yes, yes.
Maldives has already come out. Nepal, by doing this, you are getting into with you.
Getting into
Bhutan
our
is
fold.
already with you. Bangladesh is substantially coming to you. So now with this kind of a thing, probably overall development would be that your neighborhood is secure and safe. Then you can challenge China in South China Sea, or say in Malacca dilemma can be enhanced, and in
Yes.
6-degree channel and 10-degree channel, you can see to it that China does not venture into IOR.
Yeah, so people say that India is facing a 2.5 front war. Actually, China is facing 4 to 8 front wars.
Different war.
And I think we will have that discussion subsequently later on a different day, sir. But
Yes.
it was a wonderful discussion over water woes of China. Not that India is sitting on a very pretty situation. India also is in a deep trouble. I
No,
think
no.
we will have that discussion some other day with you as to
India,
what can
India
India
has
do.
got even bigger problem of water, because in our case the worst issue is in urban areas. 40% water loss and leakage, which you can't
Yes.
even imagine. I mean, just
Absolutely.
one figure
I
I'm
mean, the
giving you.
inefficiencies are there with,
In,
I think, most of the developing countries. Sir, we are unable to actually provide the correct infrastructure to use the water fully. I think that is something which needs immediate attention of any government or every government. Sir, sir, we will take some quick one or two questions. There is one question which has come from Kumar Gopalan. He follows me quite regularly, and he says, "Ask the general." if the Yellow River reaches the sea? I mean, now he's talking in terms of water. Does the water really reach the seas? And that is his question. So you could enlighten him on this.
No, right now the Yellow River indeed reaches sea, but whether it is a polluted water or it is useful water is a
And
question. Yellow
and
River is in a very very terrible shape, and actually because of the entire basin, the say central China and leading to North China and West China, substantially depends on Yellow River, and east of it is on Yangtze. But both the rivers are becoming not only highly polluted, the water is becoming deficient because of the climate change and over exploitation of water. And because surface water, as I mentioned, that 80% is surface water utilization. So the problem is Hangzhou is becoming actually a albatross around China's neck.
And also, sir, I would add to it that since the water is unable to reach in the same force as it used to happen earlier, the sea water is going back into the delta and going deeper inside the Chinese territory, creating more problems for them.
I'll just give you an analogy and then I'll explain it. You
Yeah,
know,
okay.
in Indus River, once it reaches Sindh, the sea has ingressed about 80 kilometers in Kotri
Absolutely.
area.
That's
So, Sattar, which is the rouse bowl, has become absolutely infertile.
arid हो
So,
गया एकदम.
so much of water is being drawn out of Indus at various levels. So, similar thing is happening in China. So now
Thanks.
this water
Yeah, thanks.
ingresses or a lot of
Correct,
problem.
sir. So one more question, sir. Why I'm hurrying up a little bit, because we would like the viewers also to get engaged with us. So we have a question from Colonel RP Singh. He says, uh, "Does water security affect China's development?"
Yes,
So,
indeed. Yes, indeed. Let me just explain it. Water, the overall hydro energy plays a very important role in the generation of energy, which is necessary for the
okay, sir.
industrialization. China is a manufacturing country. It is not so much on agriculture, it's on manufacturing. For manufacturing, energy is needed. If hydro energy reduces and available water is not available for this, say, example we gave about microchip. Now, this
Hmm.
water, if it is not there, microchip production will be affected and that will impact the development of China. So, the water security will impact China, their industrial development, it will impact their food security, it will impact their GDP. By some estimate, it is going to go down from 0.5 to 2.5%. Now, imagine, say, China, if 2.5% of their economy is impacted because of this water issue, what will happen to their economy? Development definitely is going to get impacted.
And sir, before we close, I can't ignore this question because we have Sudhakar on the line, and he has asked a question: what are the India's probable response to China going full throttle in, I think, weaponizing
Definitely.
Brahmaputra against India?
Yes. What India has done, India has decided to make a dam of its own just
Hmm.
downstream of this Medoc thing, so that
Absolutely.
in case if he ever uses this as a weapon, we have a reservoir where some water hold on. We can hold on, and a number of such dams will have to be created. So on Subansiri or Lohit, the efforts are on to do that. And with this kind of a thing, the number of projects which are coming up in Arunachal and also in Assam, that is going to help us to arrest the impact of if he ever uses weaponizes water as a source. And in any case, we have to go in for better utilization of our own water resources, because when you dam, downstream will be impacted. And if downstream will be impacted, the water availability will reduce. So you will have to find some different kind of a networking of canal and systems like that. So we'll have to do it. Yeah.
I think, sir, we have had a very fruitful discussion. It was a a good, short, crisp discussion. Basically, the points that got highlighted were that China is in problem as far as water is concerned. I believe it is doing a lot of effort to get over these problems. That is his
Yeah.
headache. What we need to.
Just one figure, let me give towards this end. Besides these north-south links, what he has created, stealing water of Brahmaputra is second thing which VC has created. He has done a water reservoir from 240 cubic meter, say the kilometer cube. He has now reached 830, which is a
Okay.
massive creation of reservoir he has created. And this is a lesson for us. And this is where Amrit Sarovar project of India will be very,
Will
very
come.
handy, because we have got just say about say 6 months of water available, 129 cubic meters of water we have. So in
Okay.
case if this 75 say ponds in every district come up, substantial will be created. So this is something which is very important, which China has done.
Thank you, sir. I think what we need to worry about is that we need to concentrate on where we can get affected by the Chinese manipulations and maneuvering. Obviously, Brahmaputra is one of the areas of a flashpoint as far as we are concerned. Even to some extent, it can control Indus water also. Indus water also, it can play around. It can play around with some of the glaciers in the north as far as we are concerned. Thank you very much, sir. It was a lovely discussion. I think the audience would have also enjoyed, and thank you audience for having joined us. Thank you whoever is going to join in the future once we put this YouTube on the YouTube, so that people can watch it, like it, subscribe it, and hit the bell icon so that we can keep sharing our programs. And I assure you, we are going to be almost on a daily to every alternate day basis on bringing to you one of the best discussions which you can think of as far as national security and nation building are concerned. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, sir, and
Thank
regards.
you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.